Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is functions. Previously, we looked at simple subroutine where it was only a procedure where you can call a procedure and it will do everything inside the procedure that's indented. For example, it printed out this welcome message to the right. And then we also did a slightly more advanced procedure where it had one parameter, and when we call that procedure, we use an argument. Here we use John, sent it up to the parameter. So when we're calling it, it's called an argument, and when we're using up here the variable, this is called a parameter, and it uses what we sent up inside the print message, inside the function. Okay, so this variable here is used when we send it from our call. Now what we're going to move on to next is the next stage, the second type of subroutine, the function. And function does some processing, but crucially it must return a value back to the main program. Remember, we had the sub programs at the top, procedures or a function at the top, and the main program underneath. Think of it like a vending machine. You put coins in it and it gives you back a drink. So here is an example of a function. Here our function calculates the total cost of tickets. Instead of printing it inside the subroutine, there's no print here, it returns the total back to the main code. So if we now do final price equals, so we're going to store our final price inside this variable, and we're going to call our function at the top. So it's got calculate cost, and we're going to send over two arguments. Can you see there's two parameters in this one? And if we only use one parameter, there'll be an error, and I'll showcase that in a minute. So we're going to say 2 adults and 3 children. So it's going to call that function, and it's going to send up 2 to this parameter and 3 to this parameter. 2 parameters, 2 arguments, and they match corresponding. First, the 2 will match with the adult parameter, and this argument 3 will match with the children parameter. So let's run this. And there is no output. We have not put any prints here. So when it returns here, it sends the total. It works out the total, adults times 30 plus children times 20. So if we had 2 adults, it would be times 30, so 2 times 30, and then 3 children, 3 times 20. And it adds them together and then saves it inside the variable total, and it returns the total back to the main code where we have called it, and it stores it inside final price. Let's have a look at what's inside final price by printing it out. Print final price, and let's have a look. There we go. So 2 times 30, 60, 3 times 20, 60. Add it together, 120. So it returned the total back to the function down here, and it stored it inside final price. Remember, a single equals means it is storing it. So whatever's on the right, it copies it and puts it inside the variable, and then we're now using the command print to output the final price, which is 120. So that is a very simple function, and we need to make sure that our parameters at the top, so we've got 2 parameters, and our arguments at the bottom matches, and we return a value. So in the exam, you may be asked, what's the difference between a procedure? Like we did previously, our procedure did not have any return values. A function does have a return, and it gets stored inside here. That's it for functions.